Are you looking to use QuickBooks to help with your small business, especially if you're a freelancer? Well, I'm an event producer and I've been working with QuickBooks for at least the last 8 years or so and been in business since 2016. And I'm going to share a couple of the ways that I like to use my QuickBooks that'll hopefully save you time in the future. Before we jump into it, I'm Logan Clements. I'm a freelance event producer based in Seattle, Washington, but I execute events here and all over the world. I do want to remind you to like, subscribe, turn on that little notification bell so you get notified every single Monday when I drop new videos. I'm also the co-host of the Better Events podcast with fellow event pro Mary Davidson, and we dive even more into some of these topics that you hear about on YouTube. For this video particularly, we have episodes about talking about our finances as small business owners, and we dive into event production, how to be a stage manager, fundraising tips for your nonprofit event, and much, much more. So listen wherever you listen to podcasts. So whether you are already using QuickBooks or you're thinking about using it as a event freelancer, I'm just going to share a couple of the ways I use it if that helps you just see the value. I will say that QuickBooks was probably one of the first tools that I invested in as a business owner. I had heard too many horror stories from some business owners who had just started their business and were 2 or 3 years in and they had no way to track for their taxes and it was just a huge headache. And so I started out by paying for the QuickBooks. I think it was like the self-employed version, the lowest version. And then about 4 years ago, I decided that I wanted to pay for the QuickBooks Pro version. And the main part here that I love so much is it allows me to have the project functionality. So I'm going to show you what my project page looks like. So here's my project page. And the cool part here is I can make projects like events and assign them to a specific customer. And then I can see my income and my costs based on that project, which is just really nice for my brain for how I usually am invoicing clients. When I worked in marketing, it was more like a monthly retainer kind of thing. So it was a little less crucial, but this has been so helpful for me just kind of tracking not just the profitability of events, but also how much I'm spending and when I need to invoice people. So one of the cool features then in QuickBooks is I can create estimates. So this is how I build my proposals. I will build an estimate, which looks exactly like an invoice, except instead of it being an invoice and something people pay, I can use QuickBooks functionality for them to approve it. But what I actually do is I build an internal estimate, which is internally what I want to kind of map all the money where it goes, if I'm paying myself, my contractors, any other expenses, any other kind of things that are those hidden costs that come with events. And then I can either send that estimate right away, or I can then convert it into an invoice. So this is the cool part that you're not double doing. I'm just doing the estimate to help me make my budget and my proposal. If they accept it and they say, yes, Logan, we want to work together, it is as easy as a click of a button, which we love, time saving for finances. Click that button and I can convert the estimate into an invoice. And you can either do then specific amounts for each line item, depending on how you're invoicing, or a majority of the time with my clients, I just do 50% upfront and 50% at the end. And it lets you, that's an option. You can do a percentage of everything and it's just 50%. In like 3 clicks, I have my deposit invoice that I can send to clients. And that is just so easy as a business owner. I've also in the last 2 years I used to send my invoices as like PDFs that I would then send to my clients via email. And I've really leaned into QuickBooks features where I can input their email address and then actually send it through QuickBooks to the client. And for every client, anytime you do this, you can edit the email that they get. You can edit the subject line. You can edit the message that goes along with your invoice. And then in that email to them, it just has an embedded button. They click and it'll take them the invoice and they can actually pay there. They can also download it. Like I have some clients who have different payroll systems. But this was a time-saving thing for me where I used to PDF it, send it to them, hope they were sure about the bank, all the bank numbers and everything I have on there. And this has just been a time-saving tool for me, is to lean into the automatic functionality that QuickBooks has. You can also turn on things so it notifies your clients if they haven't been paid, or if it's an overdue invoice. And a functionality last year that I started doing is I can automatically add late fees. So you can set a late fee for you as like your business, and then you can actually go client by client and turn it on or off or tweak it depending on what you're doing with the client. And so that was something for me that I love, that it would automatically do that for me. And then since the client has an email from me with the invoice that's a live button, if I had to give them a late fee, they would click on the button And in the invoice, it would already reflect the late fee. I, as the business owner, didn't have to send them another invoice or anything like that. It would automatically do that for me. So we love automations, and I think QuickBooks has a lot of really cool functionality built right into it. I already mentioned the project functionality. I will say, I think the QuickBooks Pro, when I'm paying, it is not necessarily cheap per month, but this is just how I feel the most organized about my expenses and my income coming in as a business owner. And so I am paying for that convenience. It then allows me to map expenses that come into my different bank accounts, and I can link them, tag them right to the correct project. I can also just with a click, a little check mark, make it billable to the client if it's something I paid for, but they're going to pay me back. Or I can just make it that, hey, I just want to credit, I bought this coffee while I was on my way to the event. I want to credit it toward that event. So I just mentally know, hey, here were the hidden costs of me working this event. And that's just something that's super easy. It also makes it easy for contractors. I can put people in my system as a contractor, and then I just tag any bills or invoices I pay out to contractors. So at the end of the year, it's super easy for me to see, oh, here's how much I paid somebody. When I have an accountant who helps me get my 1099s out there for contractors, it's really, really nice. I'm not gonna lie. If you can't tell, I'm a big fan. And my last thing that I love about QuickBooks is just how easy it is to pull reports. I think if you talk to any business owner, they're gonna tell you you live in your profit loss statement. And I am the same there. But what I love is it instantly, like in a click of a button, will make that report for you. But then you can also click on items. So this is where I will compare my profit loss statement for this quarter, Q1, to last year's Q1, and I can put them literally side by side in a clickable live report that I can then click and be like, well, why was my marketing supplies more this year? Let me click on it. And then it'll show me all the different transactions that go into that total. And so that has helped me avoid what I feel like a lot of business owners forget why they spent money on certain things, and just makes me feel like I'm a little bit more aware of where I'm growing as a business, what I'm spending more on, what I'm spending less on. And it's just super quick. I mean, that's the main thing, is no pun on QuickBooks, but it is quick and it is a time saver. I think my last thing is just a caveat. I know it is an investment. The individual solopreneur kind of freelance version I was using at the start doesn't use the project functionality. And that worked when I was first starting out because I think I had just less expenses. But now as a business, I really, really like that I can track everything to a specific project, to a specific client. I've even made projects for my own individual products. Like you can go and buy my show calling webinar on demand. So I have a project in QuickBooks that's literally for my Logan Strategy Group templates and online resources. And it just gives me that quick snapshot of exactly what I've made this year or indefinitely on that product. And so I highly recommend it. I think QuickBooks is one that a lot of accountants have worked with. So if you are someone who is able to afford paying for a subscription to QuickBooks, I suggest you give it a try, see if it helps you keep track of those expenses. I joke as a freelancer and event business owner that the financial side is probably my least favorite part of what I do. And yet it is one of the most crucial things that I do because it's sustained me in business now I just celebrated 8 years in October. So I'm working toward 9 years on my own. So QuickBooks is one that I invested from the beginning and I have continued to invest in. So let me know in the comments below if you have another alternative that you love. I've heard a couple other names out there, but I will say I've been pretty stuck with QuickBooks once you learn it. It's pretty intuitive. And again, having an accountant or someone else as a resource, they are all very familiar with QuickBooks, and so I usually get them to help me make sure I'm categorizing everything correctly. Hopefully you learned something new about QuickBooks, and I'm Logan Clements. I'm a freelance event producer based in Seattle, Washington. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.